6 gigawatts. That's how much power OpenAI just committed to AMD. Enough to run 3 nuclear plants worth of compute. This is the start of a new balance of power in AI hardware. Lisa Su and Greg Brockman went on to CNBC to confirm it, a 5-year deal between AMD and OpenAI that could generate tens of billions in revenue and give OpenAI warrants for up to 10% of AMD stock. As you know, NVIDIA's been the dominant supplier for training, inference, and basically everything. But this move proves it's not just a one-horse race anymore. OpenAI now locks in guaranteed capacity, while AMD finally has the gigantic order it's been missing.
Shares of AMD are surging. Do I just use that word surging? How about like colossal gain? A company announced a massive new 5-year deal with OpenAI. Cannot explain to people how big this is. Joining us now, first on CNBC, CEO Lisa Su and OpenAI's co-founder and president Greg Brockman. Congratulations to both. Lisa, I'd like to start with you, okay?
Yeah, good morning. Great to see you guys.
Great to see you. Now, Lisa, this is a huge coup because I think a lot of people felt that you were nowhere near NVIDIA in terms of being able to power, in terms of compute. Why don't you tell us why you think what you've done in the last 2 years that make people realize that, wait a second, this is not a one-horse game?
Well, first of all, Jim, it's great to be here with this morning. It's a big day for AMD. It's a big day for our relationship with OpenAI. And frankly, I think it's an important day for the AI industry, right? What we're seeing is there's just a massive demand for more compute. I mean, there's so many applications for AI. There's so many places where we'd like to see it used. And, compute is the foundation of that. So we're super excited to announce this deal with OpenAI. I think it has been, something that we've been working on for a long time. And I think it says a lot about, sort of the importance of having, the right compute technology to really power this next wave of AI. So very, very exciting. It's a huge deal. 6 gigawatts is a massive deployment at scale. And, we love working with OpenAI, truly a leader in this great industry.
Okay, so Greg, I've not been able to meet you, and I feel remiss. Obviously, you're one of the most important people in this world of AI. I wanted to ask you: a lot of people feel that there was a deal that you made with NVIDIA, and was something I was loathsome. People were saying it was circular. I thought that was just blasphemy, because I felt that they really were going to go to whoever else had great power. You went to Lisa and AMD. Why? What attracted you? What was in the chips that you felt made it so you didn't just need NVIDIA?
We need as much computing power as we can possibly get. And I think the whole industry right now is trying to really adapt to the amount of demand for AI services that we see coming over the next couple of years. And I think that when it comes to the suppliers of this computing power, I think that NVIDIA has something very special. We use them for training, we use them for inference. AMD, I think, also is really sort of delivering in terms of the next generation of chip that they've been working on. We've been providing feedback. We've been doing a lot of software work to be able to enable it for inference within our infrastructure. And we really see the whole ecosystem as being something that's coming together to deliver the amount of inference that will be required to bring AI to everyone at scale.
And why the warrant deal? Was it not enough to just have a terrific partnership?
Yeah, maybe, Jim, let me make a comment on that. First of all, I think we have to get really on this big picture of, Sam and Greg need more AI compute, and, our job is to deliver that. The thought process around the warrants is, it's actually hard to build these, huge gigawatt deployments in data centers. And we wanted to make sure that this is a long-term deal. So it is really an opportunity for us to align AMD and OpenAI together over the long term. And the idea is, as OpenAI deploys compute, that's a huge benefit to AMD in terms of the amount of revenue that we get from that. Every gigawatt of compute is significant double-digit billions of revenue to us. And as part of that, we have to work really closely together to make sure those deployments are super successful. And as we do that, OpenAI gets to benefit, from some of the success of our work together. So it really is, the best in terms of tying performance to each other. And I want OpenAI to be extraordinarily successful, and this gives OpenAI a reason to want us to be successful as well.
Lisa, can you talk a bit about how the dynamic, the element of the ownership in AMD came about, and how you see that playing out?
Well, this is like a new world. When you talk about the type of scale that we're trying to build, the capital intensity of what you need to do, and frankly, the long-term partnership that you need for this type of stuff to be successful. And as Greg said, we've been working with OpenAI for some time. They've given us really good feedback, and frankly, they have some of the best engineers in the world, and they actually give us a lot of feedback on what we can do better. And so our roadmap today is really exciting. Today we are shipping the MI350, which has great adoption, but we're even more excited about our next generation MI450. And this was an opportunity for us to go big together and ensure that the companies are completely aligned as we go forward over the next few years. And the beauty of this is it's all performance related, right? We have to perform and build great chips, which we're confident of. OpenAI has to have all the best models out there to consume all this compute. And together, we're going to optimize and ensure that the roadmap is really strong going forward.
And I think on the call you did say it would be highly accretive to both revenue and earnings.
That's right. That's right. This is a great opportunity for us to really, turbocharge our AI footprint. It is significantly accretive to AMD shareholders on day one. And as OpenAI deploys more, we continue to have accretion in terms of revenue growth as well as earnings. And most importantly, we get a long-term partner to address all of this AI compute that the world needs.
So what actually happened here? OpenAI and AMD locked in a 6 gigawatt deal over 5 years, starting with 1 gigawatt in 2026, scaling up with each chip generation. AMD CEO Lisa Su said every gigawatt of compute means double-digit billions in revenue. AMD's data center AI revenue was about $12 billion last year. This single deal could lift that towards the tens of billions that AMD is now guiding. AMD's MI350 is already out, and the MI450 will be the first OpenAI deployment. If AMD can offer inference and near NVIDIA performance, but lower total cost per token served, they will win on scale. But for me, here's where it gets interesting. OpenAI warrants let them buy AMD stock cheaply if AMD hits its performance milestones. That aligns both sides. AMD gains predictable demand, OpenAI gets the share upside if AMD executes. The structure effectively ties compute supply to financial performance, something NVIDIA didn't offer. Contrast that with NVIDIA's dominance. They've owned around 90% of the AI accelerator market. If AMD secures even 10 to 15% through OpenAI and other partnerships, that's a multi-billion-dollar share gain per quarter once the chips ship. Let's acknowledge the obvious risk: execution. Ramping 6 gigawatts of data centers by 2028 depends on utility, transformers, and grid contracts, not to mention any bottlenecks in high bandwidth memory or raw power. But in my opinion, the upside is too clear to ignore. OpenAI gets freedom from NVIDIA's backlog and a second lane for future models. AMD gets guaranteed revenue, long-term visibility, and the credibility to win further hyperscale deals. Think Oracle, Meta, or Anthropic next. For me, this is the moment AMD became the indispensable second supplier in AI. Not the underdog anymore, but the alternative that keeps the whole ecosystem scaling. NVIDIA stays dominant in training. AMD now owns a credible path in inference. And for investors, that's how new market leaders are made. Not overnight, but through 5-year commitments like this one. If you enjoyed this video, why not consider hitting subscribe? Cheers.